He was mopping the marble floor in the CEO's private lobby when the elevator doors slid open and the millionaire himself stormed out. "Hey, you," the CEO snapped, pointing at him like he was dirt on his shoe. "Move. You're dripping water everywhere. This is not some street corner." The janitor stepped back politely, gripping the mop handle. "Sorry, sir. I'll dry it right now." But the CEO wasn't done. He smirked loudly, making sure everyone nearby heard. "I swear they'll hire anyone these days. Look at you, slow, messy, and taking up space in my building." A couple of employees looked away, too scared to speak. The janitor kept his head down, jaw tight, trying to stay calm. Then the CEO stepped closer, like he enjoyed towering over him. "Tell me something," he said, voice dripping with arrogance. "Do you even have papers to work here? Or did someone just let you in the back door?" The janitor didn't respond, just rolled up his sleeve to wipe sweat from his arm. And that's when the CEO froze. Because right there on the janitor's forearm was a tattoo no one could fake. A tattoo only one group of men in the entire country earned, men whose identities were usually classified. The CEO's mouth fell open as the color drained from his face. The janitor noticed the stare, lowered his arm slowly, and said in a calm, steady voice that made the entire lobby go silent. "Sir, you really shouldn't talk to people when you don't know who they are." The CEO stepped back like he'd touched an electric wire, eyes glued to the tattoo. He swallowed hard. That symbol, that's not real, right? You're not." The janitor didn't answer. He just kept wringing out the mop, slow and controlled, as if the entire room wasn't staring at him now. An older security guard suddenly straightened, recognition hitting him like a punch. "Sir," he whispered to the CEO, "that mark, that's Special Forces Tier 1 clearance. Only 12 men in the whole division ever earned it." The CEO blinked fast, panic rising. "But, he's a janitor." The guard shook his head. "Sir, that's not a janitor. That's someone who's done things we don't even have clearance to read about." Employees began whispering, some stepping back, some watching with wide eyes. The CEO tried to force a laugh, but it died in his throat. "Why would someone like you be cleaning floors?" he asked, voice cracking. "What are you doing here?" The man finally looked up, calm, steady, almost disappointed. "Retired," he said. "By choice. I took this job to stay busy. To stay human." He paused. "Didn't think I'd have to defend myself from the man who signs the checks." The CEO's lips trembled. I didn't mean." "You meant every word," the man replied quietly. "And that's the problem." The CEO's breath hitched. "Look, I didn't know that I ran point in Kandahar." The janitor added softly. "That I pulled 3 of your own board members' sons out of a blown convoy. That this building exists because men like me kept this country standing." Silence slammed through the lobby. The CEO felt every pair of eyes burning into him. The janitor lifted the mop, leaned it neatly against the wall, and said, "Respect isn't about titles, sir. It's about how you treat people when you think no one important is watching." The CEO stood frozen, exposed, every inch of his arrogance stripped away by a man he had just tried to humiliate, a man who turned out to be the quietest kind of legend. The CEO's jaw tightened, but he couldn't look the man in the eye. Not now. Not after realizing he'd just insulted someone his own board probably owed their lives to. Employees watched from behind desks and hallways, whispering, finally seeing their arrogant boss shaken for the first time ever. Trying to recover, the CEO forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Look, let's just forget this happened. I can arrange a promotion, a raise, whatever you want." The man didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at him with a calm that felt more dangerous than anger. "You think money fixes character?" he asked softly. That line landed like a punch. The CEO flinched. The janitor reached down, picked up his cleaning cart, and turned as if to walk away. But halfway through, he stopped, something shifting inside him. Slowly, deliberately, he set the cart aside, squared his shoulders, and turned back toward the CEO. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn black card. It wasn't flashy, just a government seal pressed in gold. The CEO's face drained again. "Is that federal?" he whispered. The man flipped it open just long enough for the CEO to see the clearance level, far above anything a civilian CEO would ever be allowed to access. The color left the CEO's face. And then the man said the line that broke the entire room open. I may clean your floors now, but I used to have the power to shut this entire building down with one phone call. Gasps echoed around the lobby. The CEO staggered back like he'd been hit. The janitor lowered the badge. But I won't, he added. Because unlike you, I don't punish people for having less power. The CEO looked down, shame clawing at him, realizing he wasn't just dealing with a hero, he was dealing with a better man than he'd ever been. The lobby stayed silent, every eye locked on the man the CEO had just humiliated minutes earlier. The janitor turned to pick up his cart again, but a woman from HR stepped forward, her voice trembling. Sir, I didn't know you served. If you ever need anything. He raised a hand gently. Ma'am, I don't need special treatment. I just need basic respect. Those simple words hit harder than any accusation. Even the security cameras seemed to stare at the CEO, catching every second of his humiliation. The CEO finally tried to speak, voice shaky. Listen, I said I was sorry. Can't we just move on? The man looked at him with a steady, unshaken calm. It's not about your apology, he said. It's about the lesson. Then he rolled up his sleeve a little higher, revealing more than the tattoo. A scar, deep and jagged, ran along his arm, the kind of wound given only in close combat. A brutal reminder of the life he once lived. The CEO's breath hitched. That from the missions. No, the man said calmly. That one was from pulling a team out while bullets were falling like rain. Someone in the lobby whispered, God, another employee, someone who had known the CEO for years, said quietly, Sir, you should be shaking his hand. The CEO swallowed hard, then stepped forward with his hand outstretched, desperate to fix his image in front of everyone. Please, may I? The man didn't take it. Instead, he leaned in slightly and said, with a calmness that felt like a warning. A handshake means respect. Right now, all you want is to save face. The CEO's hand hung awkwardly in the air before he slowly pulled it back, humiliated in. Sergeant Hale pushed his cart toward the service hallway, wanting nothing more than to get away from the tension, but the building manager gently called after him. Hale, wait. He paused. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I didn't know you were working here. If you ever want your old position back. He shook his head softly. No, that life is done. I'm here for peace, not power. But peace was the last thing happening behind him. The CEO, red-faced and rattled, followed a few steps. Sergeant Hale, please. I can't let this end like that. You made me look. Hale stopped, turned slowly. I made you look exactly like how you acted, he said. That's not my fault. The CEO winced as the staff